Hi, this is Bill. Who's on the call?
Hi, Bill. John Bacura with Youth Entrepreneurs.
Hey, welcome, John. Who else is on the call?
Hi, Bill. This is Mark.
I'm sorry, Mark?
Yeah, this is Mark Lawrence with Incubate Consulting out of Maryland.
Hey, welcome, Mark. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Excellent. And I'm sorry, someone else was on?
Yeah, Reagan from the Emerald Development Corporation.
Welcome, Reagan. And sounds like somebody else may have just joined.
Hi, Joshua Fahrenbrook in Oklahoma City.
Hey, Joshua. Bill Kenny here.
Hello.
And someone else may have just joined.
This is Jeff Bennett from Sacramento.
Welcome, Jeff. Bill Kenny here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic, thanks. So I have John, Mark, Reagan, Joshua, and Jeff. Anyone else on the call yet? Cool. We'll start in about 2 minutes, and we want this to be really interactive. I would suggest, just for our sound quality, we are just, if anybody has to pop off at any point, we are recording this, so we'll share the recording. But you might want to just go on speakerphone, and we'll probably have, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes sort of an agenda, and then we'll open it up for questions and whatnot. And feel free to unmute at any time and ask questions as well. But our sound quality will probably be better if we're on mute and less talking. So, but let's give folks another minute or two to join us, and then we'll rock and roll. Anybody in the hurricane path at the moment? Maybe the University of Maryland person.
Yeah, it won't be here for another couple of days, but I don't know how bad we'll get it. This is Mark.
Yeah, hopefully not too bad. Yeah. Hi, this is Bill. Someone else just joined. Who just joined us? The mystery person. All right, we'll start in just 1 minute. And who is this?
Hey, it's Cherise. How are you?
Welcome, Cherise. How about yourself? I'm well.
I'm doing good.
Good. Got a few others on the call, and someone else just joined. Who's with us today?
Larkin.
Did someone just join? Larkin?
Yes.
Well, welcome, Larkin. And so we have John, Mark, Regan, Joshua, Jeff, Cherise, and Larkin, and maybe someone else has joined. Who else has joined us?
This is Andre.
Welcome, sir. How are you, Andre?
I'm good. Thank you, Bill. Long time.
Yeah. One more call today. There we go. All right. Well, we do have a good number of people on the call, and others may join as we go. As I mentioned, we are recording this, so if you do need to pop off, it shouldn't be a problem at all. We should be able to, we'll send you the recording later on. But I would suggest that unless you're speaking, that you stay on mute. That way we keep our sound quality good. But feel free, and we want this to be a real open forum, feel free to unmute at any time if you do have a question. And of course, at the end, we'll open it up for whatever questions you have as well. So we're delighted. Andre and I are going to lead this call today, and we're delighted you're with us. My name's Bill Kenny, and some of you, I think one or two that registered, have been to a summit before, and the rest have not. So we're excited that you're interested in SCN and our summit. The summits are really intended to be very engaging and to help you make good connections. If you're not yet on the slide share, and it looks like a bunch of people are, the easiest way to go from just sort of an open window on your computer is go to join.me, and then once you're there, put in the code MEET Connect, MEET Connect, CONNECT, and that will get you into the SlideShare. But it looks like we've got tons of people in the SlideShare now, so we look pretty good. So the Denver Summit goes from September 24th through 26th, and if you haven't yet registered, we'll have registration info at the end. But I'm just going to start our agenda here. So we're going to just hit a few different things. I'll lead some of this. Andrea will lead the other parts, but we're going to talk just for a brief moment about SCN, kind of give you a little overview, talk about the summit. We'll probably spend most of the time sort of digging into that, and then we'll also spend some time, and it's probably the most important part is once you've made the call to go, how do you get the most out of it? And certainly as a first-time attendee to anything, there are certain sort of protocols or best practices or things that might help you to know to get the most out. And the most important thing we could probably share with you today is we're here to help, and we're here for any questions you have. And all of us in the organization are doing this as volunteers to really drive ecosystem builders and to help build prosperous communities in our country. And so we're here to support, and we only can do that if we get good feedback, interaction, participation. So at the bottom of this slide, you'll see kind of the three core principles we developed the summits around. One is to help people make good connections, to help ecosystem builders learn, and then help them build skills. And all of us that are participating are ecosystem builders. I'm just going to ask everybody that's not speaking if you could be on mute. That'd be great. I hear it sounds like somebody's got turn signals or something going on. Oh, perfect. Sound is good. So here are pictures of Andre and I, in case you want to know what we look like. We'll be showing family pictures later in the show, but for now, this is all you got. So let's get into our topic here. So a little bit about SCN for sort of background purposes. We are sort of I'm sorry, did somebody say something? Okay. Just so you know where we came from, we were sort of came out of an organization that started as a result of the Obama Jobs Act. That our organization was called Startup America Partnerships, and some of you may have been a part of that. You may have had a Startup America chapter in your state, or you may have been a part of that. And so SCN, all of the sort of founding members were a part of Startup America Partnerships, and essentially we're ecosystem builders in their regions. And when that ended, it was just a 3-year mandate. When that ended, we said, we want to keep this going. We are getting value out of connecting with each other. And so the organization sort of took a couple of years to coalesce, but now we've now had, I've been to every SCN summit, and I think there's been, 7 or 8 of them. It's been quite a few, and going back to I suppose it was probably 2014, something like that, or 2015, and so now we're a full 501c3 and hiring an executive director and kind of moving along. And you'll certainly, in coming to Denver, you'll get a lot more of a picture of sort of what the organization's about. But I'll share, and I'm going to share a mission and vision. We have an existing mission and vision, but they're getting updated. But I'll share sort of the current draft, and I'll probably get in trouble for this, but I'll share it just so you kind of know where we're going. And so our focus, you'll see, our vision is to have thriving, inclusive ecosystems in all communities that support startups and drive economic opportunity and independence for all. And our mission is the Startup Champions Network provides startup ecosystem builders the connections, resources, and professional development they need to cultivate thriving and inclusive ecosystems. And again, we have existing mission vision, but we're evolving to something sort of closer to this. And the old ones aren't that much different, but enough so that we wanted to update them. And again, this is sort of our true north and how we sort of what guides us in our daily activities. So Andre, I know you were going to address the ethos, and a lot of work has been done to develop our ethos as an organization. Do you want to hop in here?
I will, and I apologize. I'm not able to get on line where I am, so I'm going to sort of do this without benefit of your slides. But Bill, you and I have talked quite a bit about this. So one of the things that I think is very dynamic, of course, not needless to say to anybody or on the phone, is that we're in this phenomenal period of incredible transformation across the country. And so this ecosystem building that we're engaged in is not just a kind of a very casual conversation. This is the new economy. This is the knowledge economy that we're responsible, and I use that word, responsible and accountable for driving. So part of what the transformation that folks that are involved in SCN are helping to guide really will have an enormous impact, as all of you are in your own ecosystems over the next couple of years. And so this gathering, I think, particularly this year, as we have other collaborators nationally, we're building a broad base of collaboration. So it's actually taking it from this conversation about this lofty goal of collaboration and really drilling down to actually what it means to create the inclusive economy, life structure of this. I don't want to be too grandiose and say New World Order, but essentially it's essentially the same thing. That the opportunity to break down barriers, to really build a truly inclusive economy, is really right within our grasp. So we want to use this opportunity with each other to make sure that beyond what happens normally at conferences where there's a lot of talking and people get together and gather a bunch of printed material and take that back home and don't do anything with it, that we really are focused on being very hands-on, being extremely supportive, and being devoted to a kind of a paradigm that says, this is what I do. How can I help you do that? Understanding that some of those traditional barriers are still baked into the ecosystem. The resources are sometimes tied to those barriers. But if we're actually going to make this safe, prosperous, verdant, and green world that we're talking about, that this is a phenomenal opportunity to do exactly that. So that's the moment that you're kind of catching all of us in, and we're trying to imbue that ethos with practical, measurable, trackable, sustainable goals and tools and all the rest of that we can bring to it so that we really serve as a support for this transformation as we move towards the transmutation into this new economy and a way of being in the world that helps to solve a lot of really sort of big ticket items, but through enlightened self-interest. So I'll kind of leave it there and look forward to meeting all of you when we get on the ground in Denver. But you're really coming into an organization that is rising, I think, in importance on the national and international scene.
I know, Andre, you wanted to mention something about bidirectional learning, and I have the benefit of seeing the slides, so I'll give you that. That was great. What you said was great, yes. But I know you wanted to mention that as well.
No, thank you for teeing that up, because also I think that all of us have been sort of PowerPointed to death at these things. We're just sitting there and it drones on and all, as if all the learning was coming from the front of the room. And we do know that in most truly dynamic and innovative environments, it's, bidirectional, tridirectional, quadridirectional, however it is, but we want to make sure that the learning goes in all directions as much as possible, particularly as things are stimulated or teed up at the front of the room, but we generally do a very deep dive on that material and make sure that it's truly rooted in community. to the extent also that we're making sure that we are connecting the sectors. I am working in Baltimore on a sort of a citywide kind of initiative, and some people need to huddle with their peers at that level, and the others need to really look at either they're running an incubator accelerator or they're doing it, communing with other parts of the system, and then keeping that stitch going as we go forward. So you'll see a very intensive, purposeful focus on making sure that all the energy is not going in one direction, just from the front of the stage to the audience, but it's moving in all directions.
Perfect. Yeah, a lot of interactivity. Love it. Cool. So we're going to hop in now to talk about the summit schedule. So we'll give kind of an overview of what the summit activities are in each day, and how probably many of you know that this is being sort of co-located with Denver Startup Week. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well and what opportunities are there. So as I mentioned at the outset, the summit starts on Monday, September 24th in the afternoon. So we'll have a check-in process that'll open at 3:30, and you can certainly arrive before then, but the sort of formal stuff will start then. We'll have, and each of you will be, anyone that's new to the summit will be assigned a buddy, and at least one, maybe two. And so there'll be a buddy meetup from 4 to 4:30, and there'll be some orientation information there as well. So it would be really important to attend that, and it really just is at the beginning of, or just kicks off our opening session. And then 4:30 we'll have an opening session, which will be really a cool conversation between Scott Case and Mark Nagar that'll be facilitated. For those who don't know Scott and Mark, Scott is the former CEO of Startup America Partnerships, and Mark Nagar is the founder and was the head of Up Global, Startup Weekend, that sort of whole family of sort of startup ecosystem. And so they'll have a neat conversation there. They were sort of a big part of the genesis of Startup Champions Network, and this is really going to be talking about a little bit about the past and probably a lot more about the future of what ecosystem building will be about. Then we'll go into a cool party for Denver Startup Week. I'm told that probably about 2,000 people go to this event. We'll have sort of a special Startup Champions Network area. We're not obligated to stay there, but it'll be a good social time, food and drinks and so on. And then we'll have sort of a dinner meetup after that. And as we get into the evening activities, things get kind of flexible in terms of what are programming and what are probably more social. But the dinner will be a self-funded dinner, and it'll be at a fun restaurant. We're actually between two restaurants right now, and just making that final decision. But it'll be all generally walking distance, so everything should be pretty close together. And that concludes our activities for the 24th. And again, the buddy meetup is a really important part here, and you should be introduced to your buddies in the next few days, and getting to know them and sharing your goals with them will be really important. And then Tuesday the 25th, I'm sorry, did somebody say something? Oh, okay. So we'll have a breakfast starting at 8:30. We'll have a welcome and sort of a layout of the summit and our particular goals that day at 9 o'clock. And then our sort of pillar content for the summit, this particular summit, and every summit will have sort of a primary content goal. This particular one, and Andre led into it a little bit, is something we call intercultural unity. It's what we think is a reframing of diversity and inclusion, but we have developed now materials, tools, best practices that will be rolled out at this conference. So you will absolutely go home from this conference with tools to help build inclusion and, as we say, intercultural unity within your communities, and you'll be getting pilot tools. So we're, in the iterative feedback spirit, we're going to want, obviously testing feedback, and these will be iterated over time, but there's been a lot of work. We've got a dedicated committee that's been doing tons of work building tools, and so both days will have, both Tuesday and Wednesday will have principal content around this, and again, tools will be rolled out that you'll be able to take home, and ideally there'll be some practice that will go on as well. So whether you want to learn positioning language or any types of conversation starters or various ways to address certain issues, we not only sort of want the theory, but we want really skill building as well, and that's a lot of what this programming is being built around. So we'll go from that, the first part one of that intercultural unity content, to a second session. There'll be a break between, but a second session that'll break us up by different topic areas. We'll have a workshop on self-care, another one about financial sustainability models for ecosystem builders. We'll have one on mentor programs, and another one on activating angel investors. So pick whatever is best for you. We'll have lunch, and that'll begin a transition to Denver Startup Week. There's Denver Startup Week, and that lunch will end at 2. There's Denver Startup Week going all afternoon. We'll have dinner will be open, and you'll by then you'll have met some folks that you'll go out to dinner with, and we'll want to use this time to connect. We want to, part of the way we've sort of designed the programming, and this is sort of by getting lots of feedback, is the content. We're really aimed to have things that you can take home and use, and not just the tactics, but actually the techniques. And then also to have enough open time, so whether we need to return emails or phone calls, or we want to have meetings or meetups with people that we choose, that there's time to do that. So that's why we kind of build these natural breaks in. And then we'll reconvene at 8 p.m. for something that has been a real popular thing at past summits, which is called Whiskey and War Stories, but really where you can talk about, in a very informal setting, some of the things that keep you awake at night. And hopefully there's others in your circle that either have overcome that challenge, or at least can work with you to maybe share some ideas in moving past any challenge. So it's for successes and challenges, I think, and ideally that we move things forward. So then Wednesday, we've got another great day of agenda here. Again, kind of the opening. Then we get into the second session of intercultural unity. Again, more tools, more techniques, kind of, again, laying out and sharing these materials, these new best practices with you. And again, with the hope that they go into use in many of the markets, and that we get lots of good feedback, so that ideally they become sort of the model for ecosystem builders globally. And then in the next session, the 11 o'clock session, we're going to break up, and part of the goal in how we break people up, we want to break people up in different ways throughout our summits. The first day was really based on topic, and the next on Wednesday we're going to break people based on what their focus is. So in other words, there are some ecosystem builders that are conveners and connectors. Those people will meet under the startup ecosystem builders who focus on people. There are others that run spaces, and so those would be the startup ecosystem builders who run places. And then of course programs would be incubators and the variety of programs that are out there. And then there are folks that work on policy. And so the goal is to get people together based on what their area of focus is. These will be facilitated conversations. I think the goal would be really to share what challenges and triumphs you're having. Some of what we're going to do here, besides helping you make these connections and beginning conversations that solve some of the major issues that you're confronted with is part of what we're doing. Is we're going to be doing a lot of listening. We're going to have people in each one of these sessions that are assigned to scribe, that are assigned to take notes, and we're going to come home with this information. And right now we don't offer any kind of virtual programming. This is actually our first virtual program. We did some kind of early on in our history, but we're going to have a full agenda of online programming, and part of our goal in getting you together, besides helping you on site solve some compelling issues, is to really collect what issues are top of the list for people, and then to offer not just programming at future summits around that, but also some online programming so that we continue to accelerate the knowledge exchange and help people improve where they need to improve. Then we'll wrap up the summit at noon. We'll have lunch and again transition to Denver Startup Week. That isn't the exact end of the summit, but it'll be the end of the sort of programming side. At Denver Startup Week, we actually, on Wednesday afternoon, have an ecosystem builder track. It'll be our content from 2 to 4. There'll be lots of other things for you to choose from, but if you choose to go to the ecosystem builder track, there'll be ecosystem building fundamentals. That'd be for very early stage ecosystem builders. And then 3 to 4 is intercultural unity. And this will be actually case studies in diversity and inclusion work, success stories in a couple of different ecosystems. So, obviously there'll be some bumps and bruises, but there'll be some good stories of success and best practice and so on. Again, your choice whether you go to that particular track or you go to some of the other content at Denver Startup Week, or you have one-on-one meetings or return email or whatever you do. That'll be your time to figure out, and certainly your buddy can help you with that as well. Again, the summit isn't quite over, even though we sort of closed it. The evening, we've got a great event. Many of you probably know Victor Wong from the Kauffman Foundation. We're going to have a dinner at 6 o'clock, and he's going to keynote that, and it should be a really neat event. Just like the opening, there'll be great information, a little bit about us sort of historically, and then much more about Victor's view of ecosystem building going forward. And Kauffman is a very strong partner of the Startup Champions Network. In fact, we were just the beneficiary of a really nice grant, and they're focusing on us as the organization to really develop a lot of these critical principles that allow ecosystem builders to thrive and ultimately for economies to thrive. So some of you may have been to Denver Startup Week before. If you haven't, I have not, and I don't think, Andre, I don't think you have either, have you?
No, I have not.
Okay. So we're just as excited as folks that haven't to see what's there, but so they get a whopping 20,000 attendees to Denver Startup Week annually. They have over 330 events and workshops that happen in the 4 days of Denver Startup Week. It really is staggering to see the scale of this. It's crazy big. You can, as an attendee, or actually anyone can register for free for Denver Startup Week. All you have to do, and the link is on the screen here, but you just go to denverstartupweek.org. And you do need to register in order to see the schedule. So, the schedule is, as you can imagine, with 330 events, it's massive. And there are some gaps, as you see in our schedule, in the Startup Champions Network schedule purposefully so that you can attend Denver Startup Week events. You can also, just so you know, and where our summit ends on Wednesday, Denver Startup Week continues on Thursday, and they have a big wrap-up party on Thursday night. You are more than welcome to stay for that, and we certainly encourage you. We're actually going to have a board and leadership meeting on Thursday. So some of us will still be in town, but we'll be tied up in those meetings at least a good part of the day. But yeah, that's, I think probably like most on the phone, we're looking forward to seeing a startup week that is that massive. It really is amazing. So we're going to talk now about how to get the most out of the experience. And the next topic is Andre. Andre, you wanted to talk about preparation, and what topics did you want to highlight there?
Well, I think I was thinking, Bill, almost of combining those two. I mean, I'm sure people on the phone on this call have experience going to conferences. So preparation is usually a madhouse of doing everything else that you can do to wrap up being able to be unavailable for 2 or 3 or 4 days. So there's that part of it. I think that, again, as I was speaking to earlier, we're in a sort of rather auspicious moment that you really want to get the most mileage out of being on the ground, not only in the broader context of what's happening with Denver Startup Week, but very specifically as a builder, which is our sort of core population within this. So I think that the main thing I would say, and something that I'm going to borrow from the Kauffman Foundation event in Kansas City, is that basically processes move forward at the speed of trust. And one of the things that I think that we're focusing on right now is actually how do we build that? It shows up in, I don't know about where you all are, but certainly builds up in ours as the thing that actually ends up impeding progress, impeding, processes and so forth and so on. So I think that the preparation for coming to the table, finding the buddy, taking advantage of not only what we're offering, but also what you're bringing and put that into the space is the thing that kind of makes it meaningful for us. I also wanted to use kind of moderator's privilege here. Is Larkin on the call? I know she was trying to get in. Larkin, are you with us?
I'm on the call, yeah.
Okay, so you're in a very noisy background, but I wanted to actually give you cut you into my time a bit, because Larkin is our fearless leader, and I think that it would be good for her to talk a little bit about her goals and objectives as the leader of this organization and where we're going. So, Bill, with your indulgence, I'm going to toss a bit of that over to Larkin and let her kind of frame it up for us, which she does always so beautifully. Larkin Garby.
Thank you, Andre. Sure, yeah. I mean, I think that the biggest thing, as was previously mentioned, is when you come together here, it's an opportunity to engage with people that are like you. And that's kind of one of my takeaways from the many years of going to summits and participating is just not having to explain what it is to run an accelerator or a co-working space or an incubator or, put together a fund or whatever it is you might do. And so on one end, it's really just kind of refreshing, and you tend to find this tribe that is like your own. So, I guess that's my biggest hope is that, can you come away from this having met, at least 2 other people and be intentional about kind of what's the follow-on beyond that of building an accountability partner. What is it that you want to accomplish in the next 6 months, and how do you leverage this network of amazing people to help you accomplish that? I'd say we've had everything from people securing I-6 grant, discovering the I-6 grant and securing that to put on, build a $500,000 facility to who it took an hour to, he's in Baltimore, I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and we've been able to stay connected and kind of visit each other's cities and participate in each other's events. And, beyond just building that network, you're building a knowledge base and resources that you really can bring back to your own community. I came to the position that I have just from being plugged into this and really realizing that, I started off with a co-working space and then launched an accelerator and then an incubator and worked with universities. And, it was all because I was able to come and meet other people doing this work and benchmark it and see them in communities that were not Silicon Valley. They're truly maybe tier 2 or tier 3 cities that are able to put together their economic development and their mayor and their university system to accomplish that. So, again, my hope is that if nothing else, you just get that deeper network of people that you can email and call after the summit, but also being aware that, this very much is something that can re-energize you. If we host these every 6 months or so, and there's a lot of the struggles that you put on the ground, depending on the type of work you do. You're probably building something that hasn't already existed potentially in your community, or you're trying to create relationships and partnerships in a collaborative way. So just kind of think through those things as you approach it and wonder, who else can be on your team, whether regionally or statewide, or who else might already be on your team. So look to that through our member directory. You should be getting some communication in the next week or so about current members and nominees, just to kind of give you that opportunity to peruse and build some early connections. So I hope it's good and is productive and a good use of your time. But I can just speak to my own view that it is the thing that I carve out time to do. It doesn't matter how busy my schedule is. This is worth going to, because I come back with 10 more things that are tools for my toolbox.
Awesome, Larkin. Thank you so much. I know I kind of put you on the spot there. So again, Bill, I'm going to toss it back to you, but I think that's really the key ingredient to making it meaningful, of course, and it's an old platitude, but you get out of it what you put in. But because we are, doing kind of heroes work. Again, I'm not trying to be grandiose, but this really is, you are the good shepherds of the new economy. You're the good shepherds of many other values that can be baked in. So we want to make sure that you understand that you're really going to make this your conference. Feel free to pull us up at any point if you feel like we're not hitting the marks, because we're operating from a paradigm that we're kind of guaranteeing you're going to get what you need out of it, and then we're going to go from there. So, Bill, I'm going to toss it back to you.
Cool. Thanks, Andre. Super. So next topic is just two more topics. Buddies. You'll each be assigned 1 to 2 buddies before the summit, and again, the goal would be to connect with them before, and ideally they reach out to you as well. We'll have that meetup that happened right at the opening there, and we'll actually have a touch base event, just a quick touch base at the very conclusion of the summit as well, so that you can ask any questions specifically about your participation or ways to get additional value. And but we want as many touch points as possible. But with your buddies, the real suggestion would be, number one is kind of certainly let them know what you do, and ideally learn what they do, and what your goals are. What do you want to get out of this summit, or what do you want to get out of connecting with other ecosystem builders? And in doing so, obviously you're activating them, and they're attentive to you, and certainly that will be helped by your attention to them. And I think it's not just about summit. I mean, we really look at summits as a springboard to relationships, and I think Andre used actually the title of one of my favorite books, which is The Speed of Trust. If you haven't read it, read it. It's really, really awesome. But I think trust is really communicated and develops over time, not at an event. And so I think, ideally the events are a springboard to ongoing relationships. We instituted buddies, this buddy system at the last summit in Chattanooga, and I had 2 buddies there, and we've become fast friends. So we talk regularly and pass stuff back and forth very regularly, and hopefully you have that same experience. And certainly we want feedback on this process, and certainly want it to be as effective as possible for everybody. But obviously it'll be a lot like going to the gym, right? You have all the equipment. It's just a matter of using it. So ultimately that's what we ask you to do is use the tools and give us as much feedback as possible. So, and Andre, you may have covered some or all of this in your past comments, but are there particular tips you wanted to share in terms of making participation in the SCN Summit meaningful to sort of wrap up this topic?
Well, I certainly don't want to risk, preaching to the converted already. I'm almost certain that everybody on this call has been to a conference before, so we know how to do that. Let me just speak about very, very briefly about my own experience last year. I arrived, at the SCN conference kind of, just barely making it in the door, exhausted, phone calls, emails, so forth and so on, trailing me like this specter behind me. So it was a minute before I could even shift to hear the new set of conversations. So I'm not going to recommend that everybody do a meditative retreat before they start, but I think that it's almost like it was a couple of days before I kind of, I felt like, well, at least 24 hours before I kind of got up to speed. Now, I was fortunate in that I'm coming in the door with people that I was already connected with, so they could kind of catch me up and prop me up until I got up to speed. Many of us do this work by ourselves, or we are the principal in our industry. So I think that that's really, if anything else, is just to use those early opportunities to kind of just decompress a bit and arrive at a somewhat empty space, but with high expectations about what I was going to get out of it. And so I ended up coming out of it with, even though I had these other relationships, a lot of tools, people that I did not know, that have become real allies and friends to me as I start to do my work here in Baltimore. So I think that again, we're dealing with experts on the phone, so I don't want to risk any sort of lectures. I think that people know how to arrive at the scene. It's just we have to shake off the rest of it and kind of really concentrate on who's in the room. And then more importantly, if somebody's not in the room, that we actually look at the tools that we need to do, the processes that we need to do to bring other people to the conversation, to the growth and development of this organization, hence the ecosystem, as best we possibly can, because we are meeting on a sort of every 6-month kind of basis. There's an opportunity to do that drive as well. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Excellent. So there are probably some on the phone. I think there are probably a few that have not registered. I know many have. If you haven't, certainly, and you have additional questions, we're going to open up for questions in a sec, but all you need to do is to register, just go to, and you have this link, I'm sure, an email somewhere, but it's SCN denversummit.eventbrite.com, and then you have to use the password that's on the screen, capital DEN, then lowercase EES 2018 to actually access the tickets. That's our secret code. But let's open it up for questions, and feel free to take your phone off mute and ask away. We're here for you. I feel like I'm running a radio show. If you're asking a question, you may be on mute, so please, we'll hold for you.
I'll ask a question.
Bill, this is Larkin.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. Please.
No, Larkin will hold. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's. I think you mentioned that you're going to be. Well, I guess my question is the Wednesday, September 26th agenda, the breakouts for SEBs to focus on people, places, programs, or policy. And I'm wondering, I'm kind of interested in a couple of those. So if I go to one, is there going to be a chance to see the content from another? Somehow?
Yeah, we actually are going to have scribes in each session. So, we'll be, we can certainly share the content from others. And this won't be the last opportunity to meet with any subgroup. And in fact, we may even create, depending on what the subgroup feedback is, each group may have, or we may have other subgroups that have virtual meetings in between summits. I mean, this is where we really want to get to. So it's actually great to hear that is something you value, getting to more than one. Please don't see this as the last opportunity to have that conversation.
Cool.
It's really just the beginning. So, to answer your question, yes, we will be taking notes, and two, there are probably many, many more opportunities to get together with like-minded people.
Okay.
Cool. And I'm sorry, who is it asking the question?
This was Jeff Bennett in Sacramento.
Hey, Jeff, thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.
Did somebody else have a question?
Bill, this is Larkin. I'd
Sure.
like to just chime in on the housing option. And
Yes.
just extend it. Do it a brief on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to give a quick overview on that. Was there something particular you wanted to say?
Just, I really want to open up, if anyone's not booked housing yet, it is very common for our community to get group housing with multiple room houses, and there is a spreadsheet out there where you can reach out to people that have extra rooms in their house. It's a really wonderful way to just connect with another group of people. So as a first-timer, please don't feel shy about that. Any one of our members would welcome and be very excited about you being one of the people to take over a room, or, there's even some budget options that if you don't have a budget for that, some people have extra sofas, like pull-out couches and sofas and things. So please let us help you with that if that's something you would like assistance with, or just want to connect with people, and also leverage your buddy to connect you with some of those options too if you have questions.
Yeah, and as Larkin said, there's a spreadsheet. Many of us are staying in Airbnbs, and there probably are a couple Airbnbs that folks have that still have some room. I know there was a post on Facebook with a few folks looking for additional roommates in the last day or two. But yeah, I think just let us know if you need any help there, and we can help promote that for you and help you make that connection. But yeah, if you haven't seen the spreadsheet yet, let us know, and we'll make sure we get that out to you. And on the screen now are both Andre and my email addresses and phone numbers, so we certainly want to be accessible there. But and housing actually within walking distance of all of our events and the Denver Startup Week events it's pretty available, so shouldn't be too hard. What other questions are there? Well, cool. We don't want to keep you any longer than you want to be on the phone or have questions for. Again, Andre and I are happy to answer anything offline. I'm sure Larkin would be as well. But it's been great to chat with you all today. If there are additional questions, I'm going to pause one more time just to make sure we address anything. But again, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the call today, and we're really tickled that you're interested and looking forward to seeing you in Denver. I'm going to pause just one more time, and please feel free to ask a question if you have one. Okay, well, we're going to take that as no questions. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and please reach out. If we don't hear from you, we'll look forward to seeing you in Denver. Thanks so much. Bye now.
Thanks, everybody.